Hi, everyone. We want to thank the Western Research Hub for Physical Activity and Health for inviting us to be part of their Knowledge Exchange series and share some of the work that we've done with the implementation seed funding that we received from the Hub. Slide. So our work is on enhancing access for people with mobility impairments at the Parkwood Fitness Centre. So this was implementation and evaluation of the activities of the Parkwood Fitness Centre and part of the implementation Bright Spot series. I do want to start by acknowledging that Western University is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenapewauk, and Attawandaron peoples on lands connected with the London Township and Sombre Treaties of 1796 and the Dishwath One Spoon Covenant Wampum. With this, we respect the longstanding relationships that the Indigenous nations have to the land as they are the original caretakers, and we acknowledge the historical and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples experience in Canada, and we accept responsibility as a public institution to contribute towards revealing and correcting miseducation, as well as renewing respectful relationships with Indigenous communities through our teaching, research, and community service. So the goals for today are for you to understand the needs and preferences of the Parkwood Fitness Centre members, and then just learn more about the operations that we have. My name is Janelle Unger. I am a physiotherapist and a professor in the School of Physical Therapy at Western University. I am also the principal investigator of the Red Neuro Lab, which is part of the Gray Center for Mobility and Activity at Parkwood Institute. On the call today, we also have Stephanie Morocco, who really led this work and is a PhD candidate currently. Adnan Ziandin, who's a community member who's been very passionate and involved with the fitness center, so you'll hear from him as well. Ariel Gavronsky is our kinesiologist that runs the fitness center operations and unfortunately couldn't make it to this presentation. You will also hear from Stephanie Cornell, who is a physical therapist by background and currently a rehab coordinator at Parkwood Institute, which is part of St. Joseph's Healthcare London. Two other team members that you won't hear from are Dalton Wolf, who is a scientist at Parkwood, and Katie Gonzer, who is a physical therapist at Parkwood. So the goals of the Parkwood Fitness Center do really align with the GAPA goals, so the Global Action Plan for Physical Activity. And so we want to create active environments as well as create active people. So the Parkwood Fitness Center is meant to be a space designed for accessibility and adapted exercise equipment located within a rehabilitation institute. And that is meant for people with unique mobility and physical activity needs. And currently, right now, our focus is on individuals with neurological impairments who are living in the community. So this is an implementation seed grant, but this really is a re-implementation of the Parkwood Fitness Center. So this is something that you'll hear about has been around for quite a while, but with pandemic changes and things, we had to re-implement and now evaluate the changes that we've made. And I just want to highlight that the mission of the Parkwood Fitness Center is to encourage lifelong physical activity to promote overall well-being to individuals with neurological impairments living in the community. Phase one of our project, we used surveys and focus groups to develop recommendations for how we could improve the fitness center experience. And then phase two was to implement those changes and reevaluate, which you'll start to hear a little bit about today.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I'm here with Adnan. Adnan was a member of the fitness center and a key member of our project team. So I have a couple questions for Adnan. First of all, what brought you to Parkwood Fitness Center?
I'm a person living with MS. I got referred to Corp through a community physiotherapist.
And what was fitness center like when you were attending prior to the pandemic?
Prior to the pandemic, the fitness center was beating with life, lots of members. The fitness center is definitely bigger than what it is right now. More machinery, more equipment, and definitely more hours and space than what it is post-pandemic. But we'll speak to that after, I suppose.
So you were attending regularly, and that was helping with your fitness goals. What was the impact when the fitness center shut down in 2020?
So prior to the pandemic, there were a couple of things that happened. We were open 4 days a week. We were allowed to come for the last 2 hours of the day from 4 to 6. plenty of time for members to get an effective workout in. Unfortunately, that was reduced prior to the pandemic to 2 days a week. Understandable. We have a long waiting list, which was one of the major problems that we were having prior to the pandemic and continues to have anyway. We were trying to get rid of the waiting list, so we reduced the hours to the availability for members for 2 days a week instead of 4 to make room for more people. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit and shut everything down altogether. But taking the membership down, the availability from 4 days to 2 days had a huge impact on people to start off with anyway. People were complaining of spasticity and tightness and a change in their, because it's something they didn't have, had improved with mobility, with availability of the hours. Unfortunately, the pandemic shut down everything, and that made things worse for members. And being involved with members as outside Parkwood and social meetings and gatherings, they would relay their complaints to me, and I collected that and brought it back to Parkwood post-pandemic. And I had met with Dalton and asked to be back, to be involved again with the group, to relay these what the members were talking about before, what the results of the shutdown was to the members, and I was invited back to the group.
That's great. So it sounds like you were well connected with the community throughout the pandemic and could hear the impact on people's function and their mobility and the impact socially as well. So what has been the most rewarding part about being part of this project work to re-implement the fitness center post-pandemic?
So through the pandemic, the original staff that were running the fitness center had retired. So it was a little bit of a dig to find who took over and to reach out to who was leading the team at the time. And one of the most rewarding things is finding that person and relaying all this information to that to Ariel, which happened to be Ariel, and voicing the concerns of that fitness center being closed even after the pandemic had been somewhat like done and over with. So there was a little bit of push to get that fitness center open again, and it did, and we did push for it, and it be open in a different room, a different aspect, but yeah, that was one of the main things, is that we got it open again somewhat.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your experience so far?
So far, unfortunately, we are not able to bring members back to the fitness center in the same capacity as we had before, for several reasons. Many members in the smaller room don't find the equipment that they used to use before. They don't have access to that equipment because it's in the big BT gym. It's a smaller room. They're not encouraged to come to even want to come back. And this is again from me meeting them from a social aspect. So I'm hearing this from them. So some days I'm there by myself. Some days it's rumbling with a lot of people. There's not enough space to move around in that small space that we have at the moment. We're hoping that we would be able to expand and move to a big room with more equipment. Yeah.
Thanks, Adnan. It's really important. So Adnan spoke to the fitness center that we were running out of Parkwood Institute. So Parkwood is a rehab hospital in the south end of London. And during the day, we run outpatient and inpatient rehab. And in the after hours, we were able to use that same space as a fitness center. So the fitness center initially started in 1995 by the spinal cord injury team. Transitioning somebody from rehab back into the community was extremely difficult. There wasn't a lot of community facilities that allowed for people to participate in exercise given their new mobility impairments following a spinal cord injury. But we had all this great equipment at Parkwood, so the team worked with leadership and patients to make it available in the evenings. It was an open gym, so people could drop in 4 evenings a week. There were several pieces of equipment that were very popular, and there were sign-up sheets for that. But as you can see, and what you heard from Adnan, was it was a really big, bustling community feel in this area. The team, as you can see here, so the fitness center hours were in green. So 4 evenings a week between 4 and 6, people were able to come and use the equipment. Functional electrical stimulation is also called FES for short. That is the stimulation of muscles using external electrode pads. And that helps to power somebody's muscles to ride a bike, either a lower extremity bike or an arm cycle. So after paralysis, somebody isn't able to move their limbs the same, and functional electrical stimulation can help them propel and participate in meaningful cardiovascular exercise, which has many health benefits. So we were able to offer that as well, an important part of long-term maintenance for our community. The breakdown of membership of the previous iteration of the fitness center primarily was spinal cord injury, but as you can see, we had people of many different backgrounds and diagnoses, and so there was a lot of peers within somebody's own population, so to speak, but really just the feel of a group of people who needed adaptive exercise equipment and groups who were able to participate together in this space. On average, about 20 people attended each of our time slots a day. In March 2020, all of our outpatient activities at the hospital had to stop, and there was no start date put on that. It was stopped indefinitely. The previous model, there was some limitations to how that fitness center was running in the past. The membership were still registered as patients through the hospital. That meant that there were certain obligations for electronic charting that was required by the staff, but also like an implication for speaking back with referral sources. There was a physiotherapy assistant involved in the programming, but very limited physiotherapist activity. And with the physiotherapist college, there needs to be assignment and documentation of that assignment for treatment plans to take place. So there was a flaw in that original model. The location was in the physiotherapy gym, and so during the day there's inpatient and outpatient activities going on, and not the space to have our community members in there. So the hours in which we could run the fitness center were limited to the evenings. And Adnan spoke to the large wait list we had, but the limited availability for times that we could increase into. So there was a scalability issue with the initial iteration of the fitness center. And then also spoke to our retirements that happened during the fitness center. So our staff retired, our space was no longer accessible, and our members were experiencing significant impact with a strong desire to get back into the fitness center. We hired Ariel, who's our new kinesiologist, and we wanted to be able to start somewhere to help with that peer support piece and give people exercise in a way that we could at the time. So we started running virtual classes in May 2022 and made those free and accessible for anybody of any diagnosis. The next thing we wanted to try to implement back was, again, functional electrical stimulation cycling. These are not pieces of equipment that are available in the community. We knew we had the only access the equipment for people, so we wanted to prioritize opening this this service for community members. It is a fee for service because it is quite specialized and takes a certain amount of training for our staff to do and a certain ratio of staff to members. Open gym, though, as you heard from Adnan, a really important part of people's day-to-day fitness maintenance and activities. So that we were able to open this February thanks to this implementation seed project. As you heard, there was a massive impact to this being shut down. But in order to implement a model that would work and give us some scalability and hear feedback from membership, we knew it wasn't going to look the same, but we wanted to be able to still open something that was meaningful and allowed for feedback from those previous members in order to ensure that we continue to make improvements when we were able to. That being said, finances are a very big issue for our population. So we wanted to be able to open it in a way that's sustainable, but barrier-free financially for our members. So we've also rolled out a financial assistance program. So the current schedule you can see has sort of shifted more to daytime hours. We have a lot of students that are able to help. We host practicum student placements and experiential learning placements from the Western Health Studies and Kinesiology program. The numbers on the schedule indicate how many students we have, and the various time blocks indicate the open gym times as well as the virtual fitness times and our functional electrical stimulation time. So this is where we're currently at.
So, as part of the evaluation in the fall term of 2023, we just did a quick evaluation of the attendance of the virtual programs, just to see what our members seemed to be attending the most and how frequently people were attending. And we found that on average, there was about 4 to 5 attendees per class. And our next step for this is to get feedback from active members or members who have dropped off and really get their feedback on what we could do to improve their experiences. At the moment, there are 16 active members for the functional electrical stimulation program and a number of people waiting to be onboarded because there is such a demand, as staff was saying. This is a really specialized program. So there is a big demand for it, and our team's actively working on adding more time slots. And the next step for this would be to do an evaluation to really get the feedback from the members. And at the moment, our open gym has 19 active members. And over the course of this project, we are interested in getting their feedback on what would be meaningful for them prior to us opening. Some qualitative feedback via focus groups on what are aspects we can improve, what's going well, what isn't. And then right now, we're just in the midst of collecting post survey information from the members about how they felt about the changes and what we should prioritize going forward. I'm not going to get too much into the guiding framework, but what we've used is the Quality Participation Framework, which is widely used in the Canadian Disability Participation Project. And it really looks at what makes a quality program, because as we all know, participation in physical activity is important, and quantity, has a direct impact on health outcomes. But really, to sustain that activity, we have to look at the quality of the programming so that people will want to continue to return. These are just a few of the results from our pre-opening survey, and it was just to have us be informed by what potential members might like to see prior to the opening. So it helped us guide the duration that people attended, and the timings that we were open and how frequently. And also asked about equipment and what some barriers might be. Uh, Trying to, as Stephanie mentioned previously, to make it as barrier free as possible for individuals. But being in a hospital setting, transportation and parking costs are always a barrier. And then, given the small space, as highlighted was previously, we were interested in prioritizing what equipment may be in the space that people would like to use. So the most highly in-demand pieces of equipment were the standing frame and the new step. So we do have those available, and the standing frame is another really specialized piece of equipment that really isn't available in the community. So that was something that was important for our members. So far, out of the 19 participants, 16 attend regularly. Onboarding for members was rolling. So as you can see in the pie chart below, there are a number of members who only have attended under 5 times. But I just want to note that some of those members are newer, and just highlight that per week we have approximately 11 visits within those 6 time blocks. And those midday times do seem to be most attended, which does align with our pre-opening survey. We've also been collecting the equipment usage. So when we reevaluate what equipment should be in the space to really maximize its use, we can be informed by that. But just to highlight that, for example, the treadmill is one of the least used piece of equipment. So pairing the quantitative, that's only been used 3 times, with the qualitative is really important, because when we look into why that is not a well-used piece of equipment, we can see feedback from the members that it's not that there isn't a desire to use the treadmill, it's that the treadmill doesn't meet a safe walking speed for those individuals. It is a standard treadmill, so the minimum walking speed is 0.8 kilometers per hour, whereas a treadmill that has the ability to go at a slower pace would be safer and more appealing for the members. Aspects people did like about the fitness center currently is we have a good training model for the staff. As Steph was highlighting, we do have a lot of students in the space, so to ensure that they are appropriately trained and comfortable with carrying out supportive activities. One concern is the amount of turnover, as students across the academic year do get replaced, but that's one way to mitigate that, is just to ensure that we have consistent training. And another highlight is the social environment is really important for our members. As Adam was highlighting, it was a really bustling environment before, and currently there are fewer members in the space. So we're just working through strategies to kind of encourage that social interaction to really make the experience meaningful. Other concerns, as I've highlighted, it's a small space, which is something that in the future we're hoping to address. And our members felt that the time slots were adequate, and the price was fair in comparison to community centers, but knowing that there are some financial barriers, which is why we implemented the financial assistance program. So right now we are currently collecting the post-pilot survey data. So far we've only had 2 respondents, but this collection is ongoing. Overall, the fitness center in general was rated really highly for our members, and the satisfaction for change was about a 6 out of 10. Some of the members weren't aware of some of the changes, which highlight that we as a team should improve our communication about those. There is a desire for more time slots and dates being available, which is something that hopefully we can scale up and then allow for a greater membership. But the surveys did highlight that our staff are knowledgeable and helpful, which really I think speaks to the consistent training program. In this evaluation, there were a number of limitations. All of the members were previous fitness center members, which it has its pros and cons. They have really good insight and give really great feedback for us. But it's with this group hard to get objective feedback, because it's always a comparison of what existed before, which unfortunately we do have a different type of space available. The number of participants for providing feedback in the focus group was somewhat limited. About half of the participants for the fitness center currently provided feedback. And there's been so far a fairly short time of participation, which is why getting feedback and consistent evaluation is something that we're planning on carrying forward long term. Our next steps, as our group highlighted previously, are to explore other models to reduce that wait list because there is a big demand, which include exploring different personnel models as well as increasing days and hours available. The possibility of implementing some group classes so that more people can be reached at one time, and post this pilot, reevaluating the equipment in the space and what needs to be adapted. And with this, I'll turn it back over to Adnan.
So all in all, coming back to the fitness center post-pandemic has proved for me I'm experiencing less pain, less spasticity, and more importantly, less falls. And my feelings is echoed by other members that I've spoken to. They agree with me. They have reported less of the same. And moving forward as well is very important to hear out the members in regards to what equipment that they need, and having more focus groups and evaluations is very important because we are the end users. We are very important in evaluating what works and what doesn't, and continuing with the research is very important and valuable to us and to the team as well.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for listening to our presentation and all of our wonderful team members as well as fitness center members.